welcome back to anyone who's listening. Thanks for returning.
Yeah.
We realised last episode that it was a bit of a mixed bag of everything, wasn't it? And I think we were just trying to get as much as we could into it, introduce ourselves, who we are, what we do, bit of camera chat, a bit of this, bit of that. Whereas on this one, we thought we'll make it a bit more focused on something, won't we? So for someone listening, they can look at the name of the podcast and go, oh, that sounds interesting, rather than be promised something and then have 35 minutes of shite surrounded by it. So
yeah, I mean, it was an intro on it, and it was the first time we were doing it and trying to navigate what to say and
get used to talking like this. Episode 2 of It's Take Two.
Yeah, I'm still unsure on the name.
I like it.
I know, but was it yesterday I sent you a thing? It's like there's a new video game coming out called It Takes Two.
The popularity is just going to keep increasing because other things are helping us, So
Really?
people are going to Google It Takes Two for the game, and then they're going to go, oh, there's a podcast as well. Let's give it a listen. I don't know if you noticed this morning, so today, the day of recording this, we started teasing episode 1, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or the pilot, shall we say. And I added the hashtag It's Take Two podcast, so that'll separate it a little bit. So rather than just hashtag It's Take Two,
that helps, yeah.
And our Instagram is also at It Takes Two. It's Take Two podcast.
I mean, if we can't get it right, we're screwed, aren't we? No one
Yeah.
else is going to get it right. So who sponsored us for this week? The sponsor of the week, I noticed some cardboard boxes at the door. We've got some freebies. What have we got?
That's just my recycling.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm just as annoyed as you are.
So we've got
Episode 2
nothing.
now. We've not got a sponsor yet now.
Right. Maybe we should post the podcast first. That might help getting sponsors.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, we've got an Instagram page with 7 followers. Can we have some free stuff?
So in lieu of a sponsor,
Yeah.
maybe it's a good time to give a shout out to some people who want to say thanks to, like a radio show.
Yeah.
And this episode's going to be focused more on Among the Living, which is the feature film that we made a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there's one person in particular that I think all of us would just like to give.
Yeah, but we shouldn't do shout outs for me and you because we're already on the podcast. I think we should do it to someone who's not on the podcast.
Okay,
if that's all right.
No, it's fine, yeah.
I mean, I don't mind
No,
if you want to do one
just
of
go
those.
for it, it's fine.
So I think we should shout out to Cheryl, Shelley and Rob from Shez Cakes and Bakes.
Hey,
because
get
they
them in
did the
there.
catering for Among the Living, and it was probably one of the best bits of the shoot, wasn't it?
We were looking forward to lunch and
Yeah. We always had hot food, even when we're shooting out in the hills and woods and places like that. They always managed to get hot food. Always had pudding as well.
Yeah, oh, those Victoria sponges. Catering.
I think
It's
it's
a
one
big
of the
part.
one of the most important things on a set that size as well. And low, when people aren't working for full rates or if people are volunteering the time, feeding them well goes such a long way. If you have to spend money anywhere, it should probably be there.
Yeah.
Because the energy that you get from people and the passion, if you're looking after them and feeding them well, it just helps so much.
Yeah.
So to Shez Cakes and Bakes.
Cheers.
Are we cheersing?
Yeah, we'll cheers and clap. Oh, very in sync. In the world of filmmaking, let's hand over to our tech reporter, Rob
On
Worsey.
scene.
Yeah.
Well,
Anything? What's come out this week that's tickled your fancy a bit?
XH2 came out, the new Fuji, 8K. So for all those people who listened to the episode 1, they'll know I'm not really interested in that. FX30's been rumoured. What it looks like it's going to be is basically the Sony FX3, but Super 35. So kind of same body and same design and everything, but just a smaller sensor. Obviously, you've got an FX6 A7S III. Would you go back to Super 35 or are you kind of full frame now?
I think I'm converted. And like we started out, didn't we? When we got a GH5 and stuff, we had those chats going, all you need is Micro Four Thirds, get a Metabone, stick a Sigma 1835 on.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that though.
Yeah, there is. But then we've I think visually as well, just the look of full frame is very nice. And I know it's a very generic thing to say, but when I showed you the shots of the wedding earlier on and that, the shot of the confetti, that's it. That's the f2.8. It looks stunning.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's, for me, it's not necessarily about the shots you can get, because you can get them on most sensor sizes. Obviously, if you get down to like 2/3 inch, it starts getting out of there.
Yeah.
Like you say, GH5, MFT, if you stick on a Voigtlander or Olympus Pro 1.2, you can get similar looking shots. What's nice about full frame is how easy it is to get it on those.
Yeah.
Having a 24-70 2.8 and you've got shallow depth of field on a zoom lens with good quality. That's the most appealing thing, I think. Aside from like the increased low light, increased dynamic range and things like that, that's always a big factor. But
I don't even think size is an issue anymore for us and what we do. Like back then, we just wanted to be as light and portable as possible. Whereas now we're stepping up our game as freelancers. You know, I've got an FX6. It's not just a handheld mirrorless type of shooting anymore. So the lens sizes and things like that with full frame versus Micro Four Thirds or APS-C, that's not an issue anymore for me.
Full frame to MFT, there's quite a big size difference. But I think day-to-day shooting, it doesn't really bother me. So the FX30, are you going to be interested or not?
I think if I didn't have a camera and I was on the look for one, possibly. Because the specs aren't confirmed yet, are they? It's all still rumours at the moment. Yeah, the things that drew me towards the A7 and the FX6 were some of the specs that were going to be in, or are going to be in the FX30. I guess price is a big one as well.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be under $2,000.
That'll intrigue a lot of people who
or
have
maybe
wanted,
under 3. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it's cheaper than the FX3.
That'll intrigue a lot of people who look at the A7S3, the FX3 and go, I can't afford that. Be tempting for a lot of people, I think. We'll chat about the film now.
Yeah.
Among the Living. And
out now. Oh, it might be, actually.
Might be. Hey, yeah.
Depends when this goes up. Maybe.
Have a look. Have a Google.
Yeah.
See.
There's one from 2014. It's not that.
And for those listening, we'll just quickly go through what this podcast and this episode is going to mostly consist of, because if it sounds like something you're interested in, then you can keep listening. But basically, we're going to talk about how the film was made, maybe pick out a few key scenes that, from a lighting perspective, that we can analyse, go through.
Yeah.
How we worked around certain issues that we had. And I think the style of the shoot is also a big one, because...
Yeah. And then into the kit as well, kind of camera lighting. Because it's myself as director and you as DP will kind of focus on visuals and kit, and we'll give a little brief
relationship
overview
as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then what we'll do is we've got Dean, who's the lead actor, he's mentioned coming on. We'll do a guest podcast with him.
Yeah.
Got Ollie and Kate, the producers, we could bring them on as well. So it's like the biggest project we've done up to this point, so we will talk about it. And
it's the biggest learning curve as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know, before we went into it, I was trying to listen to all the advice I could find on doing a low budget indie feature. And so hopefully, you know, there'll be people out there who are planning theirs or in the stages of theirs and who will find this useful to hear what we've learned.
We touched on it last episode, didn't we, about the film that you directed 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been over a year since the cast and crew screening, I noticed. It was August, wasn't it?
End of August last year, the cast and crew screening. So we've just been kind of sat on it since then. And this is kind of an interesting bit to talk about, is because we never anticipated working on this sort of stuff, but deliverables and things like that. Getting it ready to pass on to the next stage, which in our case is a distributor. Yeah, we had the cast and crew screening end of August. I don't think we got everything over to them until July this year. Getting through all of the deliverables and adjusting stuff, fixing things.
So really quickly, what do you need
as
a deliverable package for
all the marketing stuff? You need all the pictures, stills, anything like that. The legal side of it, contracts, everything like that, ready to go. But getting into the actual film, so you need a original aspect ratio version, which for us was like the 190 to the 17:9. You need that, and you need it with different audio tracks. So you need left, right stereo, 5.1 surround sound, and then left and right music and effects, so that it can dub it across. Then you need that again, but with a 16:9 aspect ratio. Original aspect ratio, I think, again, or maybe a 16:9 version, but without any text or textless. So that way, if they send it to, you know, if they're putting it for a foreign market, they can put the name of the film on, but in a different language. It's a long list. And so that's something worth thinking about. You know, if you're going into doing a feature film like this and you're looking at distribution, that's definitely...
It's not just a Vimeo link, is it, that you send to Cineworld?
Go, there you go. It's just not one export that you can put on WeTransfer and send them. Even if you're not sure if you're going to sell it, I think get a deliverables list together from the moment you finish the film, or even the moment you start editing the film, you can actually start putting stuff together, so that when you get to that point, it's way easier.
When it comes to the audio splits for the deliverable, we had a experience at a festival, didn't we? Where
Yeah. We'd created a DCP, which is basically a file format for cinemas that they use. We were screening at this film festival. What they said was, if you send us a file of the film, we can create our own DCP and we'll play it that way. I said, all right, no problem. So what I sent was a DNX file with 5.1 stereo on all the mono channels. So you had all 6 channels there. They made a DCP. I emailed again saying, can you just check it? I was just worried that something was going to go wrong.
Yeah.
The start of the film, for those who haven't seen it, is the screen's totally black and then audio starts happening and audio goes crazy and there's sort of voiceover, helicopters flying and stuff like that.
Big montage of audio, isn't it?
It's really, really nicely done by the sound designer, Max. At this point, I've seen the film thousands of times and I'm like, I feel like dialogue should have started at this point. Why isn't Dean saying, Dad? That's the first line. I feel like at this point it's happened.
You turned to me, didn't you, and said,
yeah.
There's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue.
Now, for those who don't know our friendship, we like to joke about a bit.
Yeah, you laughed, didn't you?
We're quite dry. I laughed it off thinking you're like, oh, you're just trying to shit me up. So I was just like, and then a few seconds later.
And then the opening shot comes on and there's definitely meant to have been dialogue by that point. And there's still nothing.
And you came back to me and was like, no, there's no audio. And I could see it in your face. I was like...
Ollie appeared. He kind of appeared out the row like that and looked down. And I was like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And I went over to the guy who was sat in the screening, like the festival director. I was like, there should be dialogue.
Yeah.
And he was like, what, there should be dialogue now? I said, yeah. They turned it off. And how long were people waiting around for? A good half an hour?
Half hour, yeah. And bearing in mind, there was members of the public as well, because it's public festival.
Yeah.
The people who aren't part of our group, they're not going to last long. Like, what's their patience? We don't know those people.
Yeah.
So there was an element of people are going to leave here, and it's not our fault. And it ended up just being like an 8-bit video from
Luckily,
Google Drive.
I had an offline screener on OneDrive. They played it on the laptop, hooked up through HDMI. I was like, oh, all right, fine. I mean, at least there's fucking dialogue, you know. I mean, it looked all right, to be fair. I was quite impressed with an 8-bit file. It looked fine on the screen. And it was going all right. And I was like, oh, thank God for that. It's fine. Until something appeared on screen that wasn't meant to be in the film.
You're eligible for BT Ultimate Broadband.
Little BT Broadband pop-up. It was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And,
I think it's shown 3 times.
3 times, yeah. And we were kind of laughing it off because we were saying...
We knew that if in however many years' time or months' time when we're doing a world-famous podcast, we're going to chat about this, laugh about it.
Yeah.
What was it like for you directing? Because this was your first feature that you directed. What was it like directing a feature with the shooting schedule and the way we shot for this film? Because it wasn't necessarily, there was a lot of not reactive filmmaking, but we was picking up scenes which we thought worked at the time in certain locations, and we worked out the shots there and then, didn't we? We didn't really do a full recce beforehand and know going into a scene how we're going to shoot that. How did you find that?
I could watch it in my mind of what we were doing, but we did have to change stuff up and be totally reactive and plan it on the day. But I had a full shot list for everything, so I knew that if we get there and we have a total block and we don't know what we're doing, then at least I can just look at my shot list and I've got it all covered. I tried to just do each scene as it was and not to think we're doing a feature and we've got another 13 days left or whatever. I just tried to focus on the scene that we were doing, know what scene was coming before and after so that we know what's going to be editing before and after, and then just try and get the scene done and get it out and just kind of chip away at it. The reactive kind of filming worked well with the style because we were going for that social realism, handheld, very gritty. And so it worked well for that. So there was a lot of handheld for you and Ollie.
Yeah.
The other camera op. But it worked well and it suited the style
I like
of
that
it.
style of shooting as well. We know that I'm a big fan of the old handheld look.
Going in with that as well, we shot multicam. So, I mean, we were up to 4 cameras at one point. A lot of the time, you know, if it was conversations and stuff like this, we'd shoot multi-camera. But even then, action scenes, we'd have an A cam, which was the primary shot generally on the shot list that we wanted. And then we would add a B camera in wherever we could. Or sometimes we could combine 2 shots on the shot list.
For that 4th camera, for some of the mirrorless users out there, Lumix S1 made an appearance twice for the bulb scene. 95%
of it, 96% was shot on the EVA 1s. But there was a few different cameras there. Like you say, S1 was used for the tracking stuff and the bulb stuff.
Which with that, we had to get that shot really quick, didn't we? Because it was towards the end of the night.
Kids were tired. Yeah,
I had about 3 minutes to set this up on the gimbal, get it balanced, things like that.
and we only had one lens as well for that.
Which was because I'd only had the camera about 2 months.
Yeah.
But I got it in June.
And I was trying to get you to buy an MC11
so
adapter. I was like, well, you're going to get it at one point. You may as well get it before.
And I stuck to my guns. And it was the 24-105 f4 lens. It wasn't very well balanced because I can remember I was rushing because I wanted to get my Ninja 5 up on it as well so I could properly see it. I'd never really tested the camera out fully because I'd only had it 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
And we just had to bang the ISO up to about 10,000 with it being at f4. And we got the shots. And I could remember just walking down from there back to the cabin going, I'd spent so long knowing that's the scene that you loved and you wanted it to look very...
You knew exactly how I want it. I was like, we need these tracking shots behind with all these lights.
Yeah, and I can remember thinking, that's not it. Like I was disappointed in myself. Before I'd looked at the footage, I was like, I feel like I'd let you down a bit because I just thought it's going to look crap because I'd not tested out the low light on that camera. Yeah. Then I think it was that night, wasn't it?
That night I edited it together and did a quick grade. But yeah, we watched it that night and it looked awesome. We also shot on Blackmagic Pocket 4K for the lake stuff because that was the cheapest camera we had access to that would cut into a feature.
Yeah. And if it got drowned in the lake.
Yeah, I didn't want to take an Eva out there.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best shots, I think.
It is.
That's the Blackmagic Pocket with a Olympus 17 1.2 and it's just amazing.
It's a gorgeous shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
The backdrop and everything.
The colours on it is just, This was your first feature as DP. How did you find it?
I can remember being nervous, and I said this on the last episode. It was nerve-wracking going into it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it would have been for all of us, to be fair, for different reasons. But the thought of it being a feature, there was enough excitement in the idea of what we're doing to keep motivating you to be like, no, it's gonna be fine. You're not, you're good enough to do this.
Yeah.
We've all been given the chance to do it, and it's worked out well. But yeah, I loved it. There was a lot to learn, and luckily with you also having experience DPing.
Yeah, never a feature though.
But in terms of the lighting side, more for me was something that I learned a lot of chatting with you on set at the time. To be labelled as a DP, you need to know what you want because, time's always going to be against you on sets. If you've only got 45 minutes to set up, half an hour to set up, you ideally want to know what you want to do. If that was wrong, and we got the actors in and going, oh shit, no, we need to move those lights. We need to take that scrim down and put it onto a different window or anything like that. Then, it's going to impact the rest of the day.
That kind of played into how we shot it though, because we tried to light for the room, didn't we? So that we did have that flexibility, especially like the way George likes to work. Obviously, he's done a lot of Shane Meadows stuff, and there's a lot of that kind of improv and reaction and things like that. Just trying to think back to the cabin where we did black stuff out, and we tried to blanket light areas so that they could move around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Because that's harder, isn't it?
When you watch behind the scenes videos on YouTube of big films being made and they've got these huge sets, and say if you're in the Natural History Museum, when we've been in there and we're looking at how to light it, you've got all these huge lights, you've got, the M18s coming down, and with that type of lighting and that crew size and kit available, it's easier, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas with our location, even though they were smaller, it was the first time we'd really done it, wasn't it, in terms of lighting for the room?
Yeah.
So we were trying to use what we'd know and what we'd seen online from these higher, bigger budget films and try and bring that into the smaller scale in which we're limited. We can't move a window if we wanted to move a window, whereas in studios you can. We were limited to what was there and we had to work with that. There were times when we'd set up for lighting and we'd think, it's not quite working, is it? And then we either change it with the time we have left or we simplify it a lot. Yeah. Which with the scene in the cabin at the end.
Yeah, and it was kind of a two-hander on it, kind of similar setup to how me and you are now.
Yeah.
We didn't have a boom arm, we didn't have anything. So in the end we had the Aladdin 4x1, the flexible light. And do you remember we literally tied it on with a bit of just a bit of string?
Yeah.
There was a beam
panel,
above
wasn't
it.
there?
Yeah.
And it was made it far side lighting, which was great.
Yeah, looked great.
Yeah.
And lit both of them, and that was it. That's all we did for lighting on that scene.
Whereas beforehand, we were getting lights through the windows. We were trying to add a bit of ambient into the room, just general ambience. Then, give them some key light in each. There was a lot, and we were already behind. Yeah. And we stripped it back, and I think it works quite nice.
Meant shooting it, we were faster as well, and we could have. That's the one where we had 4 cameras. And I remember you put your S1 down, and you said, it'd be good to get a hand shot. Yeah. It's like, all right, we're not going to use it. It's not in shot list. And then I remember in the edit, I was just thinking, it'd be nice to have, something here where she drops her hand down, and so smug. Look at that. Yeah, just popped in this little hand shot that Jord got on his S1. It worked a treat.
Comes in handy.
Yeah.
That was on the world's most terrifying tripod as well.
What was it? Just balanced boxes? Or
it was like pelly cases, shoe boxes, books, coasters, 10p's. It was just working its way up, and we was trying to wedge things under so it was straight.
Just angle it a bit more.
Yeah,
tilt it.
I can't. But it worked.
Yeah. Let's get nerdy for the geeks who are listening, for people like us. What did we shoot on? What spec? What camera? What lighting did we have?
Well, we used what's now your camera.
Panasonic EVA1.
Yeah.
Like I said, we shot most of it on that, 98% easy.
Mm-hmm.
Lens-wise, the Sigma 18-35 and the Sigma 50-100.
And we had chats prior to shooting, didn't we? Whether we go primed or, zoom, cine zooms, and we kind of came to the conclusion that the style of shooting that we've just spoken about in terms of, quick paced and quite reactive if we need to move or whatever.
Yeah.
Having that flexibility to zoom in, zoom out helped us massively, didn't it?
Yeah, it was so good. It was also because there were times where we were tracking up mountains and stuff to shoot, and taking a box of primes and things like that would have been a nightmare, but being able to have an 18-35 on most of the time. I feel like most of the time we had 18-35 on the A cam, and then we had a 50-100 on the B cam.
Yeah. Because we like to shoot mids closer with a wider angle, don't we? We like shooting 35 a lot, rather than, we need a close-up 85 or it's having, we visually prefer that as well. So that 18-35 was on our camera for 80% of, the A cam for a lot of stuff. Was it the end of the block?
Yeah, this
wasn't it?
This was the last day, and this was a good lesson: is don't schedule a big scene as your last scene, because we'd done so well with the scheduling up until that, and most of the time we were ahead of schedule. But then we had a big scene on the last day, and we had Emily coming in, who's an amazing actress, but to come in onto a set where everyone else has done 13, 14 days, Dean's. He knows his character inside out.
Yeah. And
for her to have to kind of jump in and go straight into a heavy scene, that was bad planning on our part, I think.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just taking into consideration you've got X amount of hours in a day. We need, these scenes plus these scenes equals that amount. It's working out how to prioritise the scenes for both cast and crew.
Yeah.
We were getting towards the end of the shoot day, weren't we? We'd got the scene in terms of how you wanted it from a performance point of view, and we'd got the master, we'd got the mids. I was pushing for close-ups, weren't I?
Yeah.
For the last 20 minutes or so. Eventually, he was like, right, let's get them. And we'd got some, hadn't we?
That was the thing of, we definitely wanted close-ups, but I didn't feel like we'd got the scene until we'd got it, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And we were kind of rehearsing and shooting at the same time, and so I finally said, right, we've got it. Let's do a close-up, and we got the 50s out.
I'd never put a lens on as quick as I have at that point.
But I feel like, because the performances changed so much and the characters changed so much across them 7 takes, that if we'd have gone to close-ups halfway through, we'd have really struggled to intercut them, because it would have felt so disjointed.
So I guess one of the things that we learned then as a parent, as a deep-in director, is whilst I'm there trying to focus about the coverage and making sure we've got the shots and the angles that we need as a scene, you're there making sure that the performance is right. And that's something that we realise we have to work together to get right, don't we?
Yeah, the director's job is getting that consistency, so that if you start on a wide shot and then end up on a close-up that you shot 2 hours later, getting that consistency of character is key. And so that's one of the things we kind of learned from that.
So we've got our first question.
Here we go.
Because I'll admit, the tweet last week, that I made that up. I just wanted to make us sound more popular than we were. So we've got a question from Callum. Thank you, Callum.
Thank you.
He sent a very good message, actually, because he's not only given us a question,
He's given us an answer.
he's given us clarity as well. So
this is setting the bar for audience questions, isn't it?
Yeah. Callum's question is, what role does marketing play in your thoughts when thinking about shooting a film self-funded and managed? Clarity. As you're filmmakers, not marketers, and you don't have a whole team, is it something you think about a lot, or does it come after the fact? Is it important with smaller budget indie films? Is this different? How many questions do you want, Callum?
Selfish.
Is this different from big companies?
Taking up time from all the other questions.
Save some room. Gee whiz.
I mean, I'm terrible at marketing. I'm rubbish at social media. You're a bit better.
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs.
No.
The people love me. What can I say?
You got into SEO when you were doing your website, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. To be fair,
you need to fix mine, to be honest.
I'll sort. Yeah, it's all about keywords, mate. But yeah, from a marketing perspective, then, what was it something you thought about then, whilst you were, I'm guessing, during the post-production stage? When do you start teasing the public that you've made a film?
I think for us, it was more a focus on marketing material, so that when someone then came in to start marketing it, that they would have stuff to work with. That was the main thing from my point of view. So that meant getting a good stills photographer up, like Alex Woodcock, who does kind of the stuff for us, getting him on, and not just getting behind the scenes shots and things like that, but getting character portraits and stuff with them together and things like that, so that marketers can do their work. It was more about that rather than me thinking, oh, this would make a great poster or anything like that. I was conscious of getting the stuff for other people to work with. Because like I say, I don't know anything about it. I'm not good at it. I don't particularly have a passion for it. And so it was just enabling other people to be able to do it.
So we're done. Episode 2.
We are.
Thanks for listening again. Hopefully you've learned some stuff. I know, like we said, it's been very focused on the film that we made, but I think there's a lot to learn, isn't there? In especially our first feature, we learned a lot, and we just want to pass that on to you guys listening.
Yeah, and like I said, that's a big talking point for me, because that's what I went out looking for. I went out looking to hear people talk about that and get advice and see what went wrong. And so we probably will talk a bit more about it, and we'll get guest podcasters. I don't know the term, but it will help if people can send questions in, because then it kind of steers us. And hopefully this episode's been a bit more professional. Not professional, but
affordable.
Yeah, it's been a bit more focused.
That's next week's sponsor, Tresemme.
Yeah. You know, we're getting into the swing of it. Maybe, hopefully it'll get better. So stick with us.
If you do have any questions, we've got the Instagram now. And so that's at itstaketwopodcast. If you want to use the hashtag, then it's the same. It's Take Two Podcast.
Yeah.
And we've also got a Gmail now, Bob.
Have we really?
We have.
That's exciting.
We're aiming to expand that email account, and we'll get sponsors at.
Sponsors at, questions at.
Yeah, finance.
Yeah.
HR.
we'll do a few random names. So like Stuart at It Takes Two.
Make it look like it's a team behind us. Each domain does cost, so don't,
Does it really?
Yeah, don't.
We'll not do that then, we'll just have the one. Yeah. So It's Take Two.
It's Take Two Podcast at gmail.com.
It's Take Two Podcast at gmail.com. There you go.
If you've got any questions or stories, I think stories might be a good one to listen to.
Yeah, advice, anything you think is relevant.
Yeah, because we want to hear other people's stories and tips and tricks, don't we? We want to learn things as well. We want to share our advice, but it'd be nice to hear from other people.
Nice one.
You can go and have your lunch. Have a good week.
Well, let's check if these are in focus and then we can go home.
Yeah.